Welcome to the True Protein Efficiency Explainer. We're going to flip everything you know about tracking macros completely upside down. If you've been building a high-protein diet, there is a huge chance you've actually been measuring your food all wrong. Let's fix that.
So, let's kick things off with a crucial question, and it's going to challenge basically everything we've been taught. Why is it that your absolute favorite high-protein food might actually rank right down near the bottom when it comes to true efficiency? Well, mostly, it's because we all tend to look at protein per 100 grams of weight. But as we're about to see, weight, it's a massive illusion.
Just take a look at peanut butter. Per 100 grams, you get around 25 grams of protein. Sounds awesome, right? But hold on a second. Those same 100 grams pack a whopping 590 calories, mostly from fat. So to actually get a meaningful hit of real protein from peanut butter, you're literally forced to eat a mountain of fat and calories along with it. See, measuring by weight tells you how much protein is physically in the food, but it totally ignores the sheer amount of energy you had to consume to actually get it.
And then we run into what I like to call dehydration distortion. Think about stuff like beef jerky or dried fish. When you remove the water from a food, its physical weight obviously plummets, but the calories and the nutrients, they stay exactly the same. Suddenly, the protein number per 100 grams skyrockets. Not because it magically got healthier, but just because you sucked out all the heavy water. So here's the absolute game changer. Measuring protein per 100 calories is the ultimate equalizer, because calories don't just disappear when water evaporates. Using calories as our baseline keeps the playing field totally fair, no matter the water weight or the fat content.
Section 1. Fat reduces the ratio, and the animal matters way less than the cut.
Now, this one usually surprises people. Salmon only gives you 14 grams of protein per 100 calories. I know. Salmon is famous for being this elite protein source. And look, it definitely is, but it sits lower on our efficiency list purely because of its high fat content. We're talking about those incredibly healthy omega-3s for sure, but because fat is calorie dense, the overall calorie count goes up, which drags the protein to calorie ratio way down. It doesn't make salmon bad, obviously. It just means it's a little less efficient if you're looking for pure protein. When we look at beef, it becomes crystal clear just how much the specific cut matters. A lean cut, like beef sirloin, gets you 14.3 grams of protein per 100 calories. But if you grab a fatty cut like a ribeye, even though it comes from the exact same animal, it just plummets on our scale. Simply put, the more fat marbled through the meat, the higher the calories and the lower your ratio drops.
And you know what? The exact same rule applies to pork. The lean tenderloin, which is that long, narrow muscle along the pig's back, surprisingly yields an impressive 18.3 grams per 100 calories. Meanwhile, fatty pork belly, which is where our beloved bacon comes from, behaves like a totally different, way less efficient food. Same animal, but nutritionally speaking, complete opposite ends of the spectrum.
Okay, get ready for this. The legendary skinless chicken breast, it only ranks 7th out of the 14 major categories we're covering today. I know, this is literally the holy grail for high-protein eating. It yields 18.8 grams per 100 calories. Don't get me wrong, it's still a fantastic source, but it's not the ultimate champion because it still carries a moderate amount of fat compared to the ultra-lean foods we're about to look at. Oh, and quick pro tip. If you leave the skin on, the calorie count jumps noticeably, and that ratio drops even further.
Let's jump into Section 2, Dairy and Plant Powerhouses, and the incredible power of isolation. Take non-fat cottage cheese. It gives you 14.2 grams of protein, proving that simply stripping the fat away from a food drastically improves its ratio. Same food, less fat, better numbers. And what's really fantastic about cottage cheese is that the protein inside is mostly casein. That's a super slow digesting protein, meaning your body just gradually absorbs it over several hours. Plus, it's highly affordable and you can find it literally anywhere.
Now, for our plant-based viewers out there who don't have celiac disease, seitan is an absolute game changer. It yields 17 grams of protein per 100 calories. If you don't know what seitan is, it's essentially what you get after you take wheat and wash away almost all of the starch. By isolating that gluten, which is the main protein in wheat, you're left with this dense, chewy, and highly efficient meat substitute. Eggs are basically the textbook example of why isolation is so powerful. A whole egg gives you roughly 8 grams of protein per 100 calories, but if you isolate just the egg white, boom, it shoots up to a massive 21 grams. Why? Because the yolk holds almost all of the egg's fat, bringing a bunch of extra calories to the party. Remove the fatty yolk, and what you have left is nearly pure protein. Now, obviously, the yolk is packed with great vitamins, so I'm not saying you should stop eating whole eggs, but if we're talking strictly protein efficiency, egg whites are an absolute powerhouse.
People usually assume that processed protein powders just blow real food out of the water on this metric, but pure whey protein isolate, literally one of the most refined supplements on the market, ties exactly with plain egg whites at 21 grams per 100 calories. Sure, supplements are way more concentrated by physical weight, but the second you switch to measuring by calories, the gap between the powder and the real food, it's practically non-existent.
Moving right into Section 3, the lean seafood champions, where we start nearing pure protein. Scallops and crab are so incredibly overlooked, it's crazy. Scallops bring in 17.4 grams, and crab hits a phenomenal 20 grams per 100 calories. You almost never hear them mentioned in typical fitness diet talk, right? Yet they completely crush most everyday meats. Because they have virtually zero fat, nearly all their calories are coming straight from protein. And you don't even need to drop a fortune at the fresh fish counter. Frozen scallops and canned crab meat are super practical, budget-friendly options that keep all that incredible protein completely intact.
Now, you have to see this stark drop-off with tuna. Canned tuna in water is absolutely elite, giving you 21 grams of protein. But if you accidentally grab the tuna canned in oil, that number plummets down to 12.5 grams. The tuna meat itself is exactly the same, but just swapping the water for oil adds a ton of empty calories without giving you a single extra gram of protein. It literally cuts its efficiency in half. So stick to tuna in water for one of the best, most shelf-stable proteins in existence.
And what about whitefish? Well, these four mild, white-fleshed fish, cod, halibut, tilapia, and mahi-mahi, they all cluster tightly around 21 to 22 grams of protein per 100 calories. The reason is super simple. Practically all of their calories come from protein rather than fat. They're incredibly lean, their mild flavor makes them so easy to cook with, and honestly, they just dominate traditional meats when it comes to pure efficiency.
Speaking of traditional meats, beating out chicken, we have whole roasted turkey breast hitting an amazing 22 grams. It's leaner than chicken breast and just as versatile. But, major caveat here, this incredibly efficient number applies to whole roasted meat that you cook at home. Processed deli sliced turkey is a completely different beast. It usually contains added sodium, fillers, and preservatives that totally warp its nutritional profile.
Now, if you're feeling a bit fancy, lobster brings in elite numbers, ranging from 21 all the way up to 25 grams, depending on the species and how it's prepped. It is literally one of the leanest animal foods on the planet. But obviously, its extraordinarily high cost makes it a nutritional luxury, not really a daily staple. The science says it's a powerhouse, but let's be real. Our wallets know it's not the most practical choice for meal prep.
Okay, drumroll please. Let's finally reveal our most practical, accessible, ultimate champion. A food that yields a staggering, super consistent 24 grams of protein for every single 100 calories you eat. Any guesses?
It's shrimp. Shrimp takes the undisputed crown. It gives you 24 grams of protein per 100 calories simply because it is essentially pure protein and water. That's it. There is virtually zero fat. This magical combination keeps the calorie count incredibly low while the protein content stays sky high. And the best part? Unlike lobster, a bag of frozen shrimp is highly affordable, you can find it everywhere, it cooks in literal minutes, and you can throw it into almost any recipe.
So I want to leave you with this final thought to completely rethink how you tackle your grocery shopping. The next time you're building a high-protein meal, are you going to be fooled by the sheer weight of the food? Or are you going to look at its true energy efficiency? It's time to stop letting fat and water weight trick your macros. Focus on the calories, hunt for those lean champions, and build true undeniable powerhouses right into your daily diet.